Many people believe that as long as they swallow those colorful pills on time every morning, their health is securely locked in a safe. For people in their 50s and 60s, this step-by-step medication habit even provides an extremely strong, almost blind sense of security. However, when your body irreversibly crosses the aging threshold of 60, an extremely dangerous invisible scissors gap begins to form secretly within you. The medicine in your hand is still the exact same pill with completely unchanged chemical components from 10 years ago. But your body is no longer the robust machine perfectly capable of metabolizing toxins that it once was. In modern pharmacology, every drug approved for the market has a strictly defined therapeutic window. This is the perfect safe zone where the efficacy is just enough to cure the disease, while the toxic side effects are suppressed to the absolute minimum. When you were young and in your prime, your liver detoxification system and kidney filtration system were extremely robust, making this safe zone very wide. Back then, even if the dose prescribed by the doctor was slightly higher, your energetic body could easily compensate and excrete the excess toxins. But after the age of 60, your entire metabolic system begins to comprehensively and irreversibly slow down, and your organ's tolerance to chemicals drops dramatically off a cliff. The once wide safe zone now becomes as narrow and dangerous as the sharp edge of a razor. Those doses that you have been taking for years and were originally absolutely safe might now directly cross the physiological red line, turning into a long-term microscopic physiological toxicity that penetrates deep into your bones. Today, we will completely avoid the conventional medications discussed in the previous video. I will take you deep into the blind spots of medicine to uncover another 5 double-edged sword medications that are most common among the elderly, yet extremely easily overlooked. They will absolutely not make you feel severe discomfort immediately, like an acute poison. But if you continue to take them day after day in an unaware autopilot mode, they might secretly and completely reshape your brain's neural networks, heart muscles, and entire skeleton. The first extremely dangerous medication is over-the-counter sleep aids and allergy medications containing diphenhydramine. Please immediately check your medicine cabinet at home for those cold medicines, allergy medicines, or over-the-counter pills labeled for nighttime sedation and sleep. They typically contain an extremely high concentration of a chemical component known as an anticholinergic. When you were young, if you took one of these pills for a cold, you would only feel a dry mouth or a bit dizzy and sleepy, and you would be completely fine the next day after a good night's sleep. But after the age of 60, the aging and gradually shrinking brains of the elderly become extremely dependent on and sensitive to acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the most critical neurotransmitter in your brain, responsible for consolidating memory, maintaining logical thinking, and learning abilities. Once anticholinergic drugs enter the bloodstream of an elderly person, they directly and brutally block the normal transmission of this neurotransmitter. This is simply like a savage invader directly pulling down the main power switch controlling memory in your brain's neural network. Taking these seemingly completely harmless and cheap sleep aids for years and months will lead to severe brain fog, deep confusion, and even frequent and terrifying memory blackouts in the elderly. In the cold corridors of the emergency room, we often see elderly people with blank expressions brought in by devastated family members who desperately believe they have developed irreversible Alzheimer's disease. But after our extremely careful toxicological screening, their brains have not developed any physical lesions of dementia at all. They are merely poisoned by a neurotoxin from a long-term over-the-counter medication, which in medicine is known as pseudodementia, that can masquerade as a terminal illness. The second medication hiding a deadly threat is certain specific types of cardiac beta blockers. If you have been suffering from stubborn high blood pressure or distressing arrhythmias, you are very likely taking this type of medication unswervingly every morning. Their working principle in the cardiovascular system is extremely brutal and effective, forcibly slowing down your heart rate through chemical signals and forcefully reducing the pumping power of your heart muscles. This is like forcibly installing a speed limiter on an overheating and racing engine, thereby greatly relieving the pressure on a fragile cardiovascular system. This was supposed to be an impeccable life-saving mechanism, but for elderly people who also suffer from diabetes or even just mild blood sugar instability, it hides a fatal physiological blind spot. You must know that when your blood sugar suddenly drops to a dangerous low, your body, in order to save itself, would normally sound an extremely piercing sympathetic nervous system alarm. You would feel your heart beating wildly, your whole body sweating profusely, and your hands shaking violently and uncontrollably. This is your body screaming in despair, begging you to quickly eat some sugar to save the failing organs. However, beta blockers act like an excellently soundproofed metal cover, mercilessly and physically muting the life-saving alarm signals of a racing heartbeat and trembling limbs. You might already be on the brink of extremely dangerous low blood sugar, and your brain is about to fall into a deep coma due to a severe lack of sugar. But at this very moment, your heartbeat remains as calm as still water, without any ripples due to the suppression of the medication. This terrifying state, where the alarm system is completely cut off, leaves many elderly people utterly defenseless and falling into extremely fatal hypoglycemic shock while walking in the park or sleeping deeply at night. The third thing that quietly overdraws your life, without you knowing, is diuretics used to treat high blood pressure or lower limb edema. When your blood pressure remains stubbornly high, like a runaway wild horse, doctors often prescribe diuretics to force your kidneys to work overtime and excrete excess water and sodium ions from your body. Once the excess water is eliminated, the immense pressure inside the blood vessels naturally drops rapidly, which sounds like a very perfect treatment plan. But you must understand that diuretics are completely blind and extremely cold-blooded blood vessel cleaners. While they ruthlessly sweep the excess water out the door, they are also quietly draining your heart's core, battery drop by drop, the potassium ions. Potassium is the absolute core trace element for electrical signal conduction in all your heart muscle cells and for maintaining a smooth and regular heartbeat. After the age of 60, the gastrointestinal absorption capacity of the elderly declines, and they are already extremely prone to severe potassium deficiency due to an overly monotonous diet structure. If powerful diuretics wash away the remaining, extremely tiny amounts of potassium elements in your body day after day, your heart muscle will become like an old engine with a short circuit. This electrical short circuit in the heart will absolutely not manifest as severe chest pain. It will covertly manifest as extremely painful cough, muscle cramps at night, and extreme full body weakness that prevents you from even getting out of bed. And ultimately, it will detonate the deadliest bomb of all severe arrhythmias that can lead to sudden cardiac arrest at any time. The fourth, widely used, mythologized, yet highly controversial medication is statin cholesterol-lowering drugs. In modern society, the vast majority of elderly people whose medical reports show high cholesterol are taking high doses of statins year-round to prevent terrifying blood vessel blockages. We must admit that statins are a miracle of modern medicine when it comes to lowering bad cholesterol. But while they forcefully block cholesterol synthesis inside the liver, they inadvertently and completely cut off the production line of another precious life substance, coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10 is by no means just a term for a health supplement. It is the spark plug in the mitochondria of every single cell in your body, especially the muscle cells that consume massive amounts of energy. As age irreversibly increases, the elderly's own ability to synthesize coenzyme Q10 is already experiencing a cliff-like freefall. Coupled with the continuous interception and destruction by statins over the years and months, the energy production of muscle cells falls into a state of near-paralyzed stagnation. This is exactly why so many elderly people who strictly follow their doctor's orders and take statins long-term experience inexplicable deep muscle aches. They feel that even climbing a single, not-so-high flight of stairs makes their legs feel as heavy as if they were filled with lead. unable to lift them at all. What is even more worrying and extremely hidden is that long-term statin exposure can also slightly but persistently suppress the normal secretion of insulin in the pancreas, thereby quietly pushing up the fasting blood sugar levels of some elderly people. The fifth medication that costs you dearly is corticosteroids used to treat severe osteoarthritis, asthma, or autoimmune diseases. These famous hormone drugs are universally recognized by the medical community as superfire extinguishers, capable of putting out severe inflammatory storms in the body with extreme speed and high efficiency. But if you rely on them long-term, even at low doses, because of unbearable chronic pain, you are actually secretly turning on a microscopic shredder deep inside your bones. Once corticosteroids enter the circulatory system, they directly and brutally block the intestinal absorption of calcium from food. At the same time, they crazily stimulate and accelerate the activity of osteoclasts, which are cells born to devour and destroy bone tissue. For postmenopausal women over the age of 60, or for elderly people whose bone mass is already being lost to the passage of time, taking hormones long-term is like drinking poison to quench thirst. It will make the inside of originally iron-hard bones become like a hornet's nest, hollowed out by termites, extremely fragile and vulnerable. You might just twist your stiff waist slightly while taking a shower or simply fall gently onto a soft sofa, and it could lead to an extremely painful and often devastating spinal compression fracture. Furthermore, this long-term hormone exposure will strip your skin of collagen, making your skin as thin as a translucent cicada's wing. Even if you just lightly bump into the corner of a table, a large, horrifying, and long-lasting purpura will immediately appear on your arm. Now, we have brutally dissected the hidden mechanisms behind these 5 common medications, like peeling an onion. But you must again remember the core iron rule of life today. Absolutely do not blindly and unilaterally stop taking any prescription medication you are currently on just because you watched this truth-revealing video and out of fear of aging. Because your body has already adapted to these chemicals, the rebound damage caused by suddenly stopping the medication is often 100 times or even 1,000 times more deadly than the side effects of the drug itself. The true purpose of this in-depth analysis video is absolutely not to make you anti-intellectually reject modern medicine. Instead, it is to arm you with knowledge and grant you the absolute right to renegotiate with the healthcare system. Faced with relentless aging, you can no longer be a passive recipient who only blindly swallows the pills handed by the doctor. You must step up and become the chief executive officer of the complex machine that is your body. I strongly recommend that, starting this year, you do a brown paper bag check, highly advocated by the medical community, at least once a year. Find a free afternoon, put all the prescription drugs, over-the-counter drugs, herbal medicines, and even those flashy vitamin supplements you take every day into a large paper bag. Carry this heavy paper bag, book an appointment, and dump it onto the desk of your attending physician or a professional clinical pharmacist. Look straight into their eyes, and with an extremely serious and responsible attitude, ask the most powerful question. Doctor, given that I am now over 60 years old, based on my liver and kidney function indicators and my true physical feelings in daily life, can the dosage of these medicines be reduced? Are there safer alternatives with fewer toxic side effects? Which of these medicines do I completely no longer need? You must understand that medications are never cold iron chains locking up your health. They are dynamic tools that can be scientifically adjusted and must evolve as your body ages. It is time to stop the autopilot mode of your health management and bravely regain absolute control over that thin prescription pad. Because on the brutal battlefield of pursuing longevity and quality of life, the most dangerous enemy is never the incurable disease itself.